Hello, everybody. It's finally Friday. It looks like we made it. See, singing there on a
Woohoo!
Friday. Bonus singing on a Friday. Happy Halloween to those that observe. I'm hoping that this won't be such a spooky show as usual. The I'm sorry. Um, well, I've lost my own train of thought there. You join myself and the always glorious, always glamorous, the goddess of grain, Angie Setzer, where she will be providing us with a rapid roundup of the latest pricing flows and market moving news in agricultural markets. But before she does, I'll get the legals out the way. Nothing discussed on this Spaces session, or sorry, podcast even, is trading or investment advice or infers any kind of endorsement by PIQ, myself, Angie, etc., etc. Do your own trading, due diligence, etc., etc.
Yeah. Well,
How are you?
I'm good. I'm super. I'm
Thanks.
wearing bright orange jack-o'-lantern shirt right now.
Do you know what? I could have put money on you being on brand.
Of course, I've got black and white striped shirt underneath, like Beetlejuice, and I'm ready to party. Colton was Shrek for Halloween. That's gonna be a big here.
Awesome. But send me
Uh,
some pictures, please.
I will. And the utmost awesomeness, his principal was Colton for Halloween. So it's been a good start to the day so far. So let's continue on our merry way. So yeah, happy Friday. Can't believe it. I feel like every Friday I get to the end of the week and that Chris Farley gif I shared last week where it's like, what the hell happened? It's literally me. I don't know. I feel like I just tumbled down a hill. It's been one hell of a week and I'm happy to be here. So what are the things we're talking about today? Well, it's Friday. So who knows? Not much. China again. China purchases debate day two. And so a lot of people, yesterday we did a lot of mental gymnastics over whether or not 12 million metric ton is a lot. And it depends on the time frame, right? Right now, Rollins had come out and reconfirmed that it was going to be by Secretary Rollins, I should say, had come out and confirmed basically what Treasury Secretary Bissett had said, that it's 12 million metric tons of purchases this year. I put emphasis on purchases because a lot of people are like, logistically, that's impossible. You are correct. It would be very difficult. Now, not impossible. I shouldn't say you're correct in that regard. It would be difficult. We already have a very large corn program and a very large wheat program, to kind of tag 440 million bushels of soybeans into the middle of it over the next couple of months would also be difficult. What's really going to prove to be difficult in this, is probably going to be originating the bushels. She says, though, we did have very large deliveries last night against, the November contract, which, Clark Griswold over here, if I had woke up with my head sewn to the carpet, I would be less surprised. But when I talked to my guy who knows more about deliveries or has forgotten more about deliveries than I will ever know, it was more of a physical play, is what he said. So, like, the reason I brought that up is it's a little bit of back and forth right now. Like yesterday, cash showed some really strong signals with basis firming and spreads firming and all of these things. And you'd have had to convince me otherwise that anyone in this market structure would give up ownership and deliver bushels, is kind of where I was going with that. But we did see it. So to a certain extent, that's negative cash, but we are hearing some folks say it's not really, basically it was CGB delivering the bushels. They have plenty of ownership, and it was Louis Dreyfus stopping them, and they're a crusher slash exporter. And so it was just a gang theory, whatever. But the spreads really aren't doing much. We had the market kind of swoon in that regard, and now it's popping back up today. And so we'll see what happens, but when it comes to China purchases and some of these other things, like a lot of people are saying, okay, well, this 25 million metric ton is below a year ago, or the 12 million metric ton is below a year ago. Like everyone wants to kind of point to history. And I said this yesterday, history doesn't matter. like history is a great sort of thing to look back on and be like, okay, traditionally, this is what tends to happen. It gives you an idea of seasonals and flow and some of these other things. But like, when you're looking at a balance sheet, everything changes. And so, like,
Yeah.
to be like, oh,
But,
well,
but this is an important point. This is a point you've raised constantly. Like, yeah, it's one thing seeing numbers on the screen with the futures, but as a farmer, as someone in the industry, it's more than that, right? It's so much more than that.
yes. And that's what, and so, like, to me right now, like, everyone's like, oh, well, it's less. Okay, well, let's talk numbers then. Yes, China's imports are less than a year ago, but I have a couple different numbers for you. 2.555 billion. That's our crush number. That's versus 2.430 a year ago. That's 125 million bushel of additional domestic demand that we have that we didn't have last year.
Right.
Exports right now are already factored. The USDA has already dropped them almost 200 million bushels from a year ago, 190 million. So they're already factoring in a pretty significant reduction in China business year over year. Probably, basically, 200 million, 1 million metric tons, give or take. I basically kind of do the math. But then the biggest thing is production. The current production estimate is 65 million bushels lower year over year. The actual math, it could prove that we're down 240 million bushels year over year. So, basically what you've got there is production could be down 240 million. That's if we're at 50 and a half. That's if we lose and, basically come in line with a year ago from a yield standpoint. A lot of people that I talk to are on that boat. We're dropping 240 million, which is 305 million less than a year ago. So like if you're doing the math, and I'm not that smart of a person necessarily.
No, behave.
I'm
You're
not good at
incredibly
math. I'll
smart.
tell you. I tested into elementary algebra my freshman year in college. Maybe I shouldn't admit that out loud, but I
Look, all I can do with a calculator is write boobies. And then if I get two calculators, I got a pair of them.
I'm sorry.
There we go. Oh, I forgot to say at the start. As a reminder to anyone listening to the podcast, these are recorded live. There's no editing.
Sorry. I had never heard that. Maybe I went under a rock. Holy crap. But anyway, back to the task at hand. We're talking about 305 million bushels of production loss potential year over year, plus 125 million bushels of domestic demand. That's 430 million bushels of room in the export book year over year that we could lose. Let's say. Keep carry out where it's at right now. The USDA, like I said, is currently down 190 million year over year. So that leaves us with, basically a 240 million bushel sort of demand or hole in the balance sheet that would leave us with 55 million bushel of carryout. If we just meet the current USDA's export projection, which is based on China importing 16 million metric tons. Remember, too, Mexico has been buying the hell out of our beans. They're probably going to increase their imports of soybeans by about 2 to 3 million metric tons this year, potentially. And there's some other places around the world that could. Now, having said that, Brazil has turned cheaper. Brazil's got what they call take or pay, where basically if an elevator has bought the ability to move grain on rail, which a lot of folks had done thinking we were going to have a big corn program and some of these other things, if they've bought the ability to do that, they don't get to trade it. They don't get to resell freight. You're stuck, girlfriend, or you're going to pay out the nose to lift it. So you are seeing some kind of incentives to move additional soybeans. You're seeing some new crop sales made and some other things. And so Brazil's gotten cheaper, and there's going to be a back and forth. Does China potentially spend more than they should on soybeans, basically to satisfy some? Go ahead.
So this is something that I think has gone under the radar somewhat. I'm sure you're fully aware of this, but and to hold my hands up, I didn't realize until I was reading out our overnight news roundup on the Morning Blast. Again, shameless plug. Do subscribe to our Substack. The overnight news roundup is the best place to get a very concise overview of what's happened overnight in markets. But there is a clause in this China purchase with soybeans that Trump's already agreed, apparently. And basically,
nothing's been seen yet.
But there is a caveat, apparently, according to the Chinese, and apparently it's been okayed by the Trump administration, where they will purchase as long as the price is competitive.
And that was I've got to get clarity on this. This was what was in 2020. This was what was in phase 1.
Right.
I don't know if you know what I mean? Like phase 1 had this clause in it.
Oh, okay. So maybe potentially it's been rolled over, but who knows, because it's all a bit choppy until we see it. Yeah, go on, sorry. Yeah.
From what I've seen, it's kind of the reports indicate that the China negotiators have probably pushed for. I haven't seen it, but it's true. It's straight up. Like U.S. soybeans aren't going to be $3 a bushel more expensive than Brazil soybeans, and we still sell a bunch of bushels. Now, right now we're talking dimes and quarters. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so maybe it just goes the way it goes. I don't know. We'll see. The cash market yesterday did show a firming of basis at the Gulf basis, and soybeans, basically went from, I think we were 82, 80, but we were 88 over, I think, to start the week. 99 over was trading aggressively yesterday. Basically, if you made an offer, you were getting a hit. And, it was just all day long where there was aggressive export buying. Now,
Right.
is that China? We don't know. We won't know for, however long. Could it be the other people? If I were someone who had been kind of told that beans were only going to get cheaper, and I kind of waited on my ownership, I might be crapping my drawers right now.
Absolutely. And
You know,
again, this is something, again, actually, I will always sing your praises for you because a bit like me, we're very bad at doing it ourselves. But this is something you've been calling for a long time, right? It's like, there was this period of time when everyone's like, you almost like this Mexican standoff thinking, they're going to get cheaper, they're going to get cheaper. And all of a sudden they're not. And then it's a mad scramble. It's like, shit, I better buy now before someone else jumps in front of me.
that's just it. I mean, it's like anything else. Like you wait and you wait, and then you recognize that waiting any longer is probably going to be detrimental to your economic health.
And yeah, exactly. And it's that first wildebeest across the river, right? Because everyone else is going to follow you straight after.
And if China shows up, everyone, like I said, everyone's going
Yeah,
to
right.
a bit. And so that's what we're just, I mean, basically that's where we're at. We're just going to have to watch. We're going to have to see. We've got some back and forth. Right now the market's trading back higher again. You are seeing a bit more carry kind of installed, between the Jan March is not by much. Like we're talking half cent, whatever. But, I'm going to be watching the spreads. We're going to be watching what happens with redelivery tonight. Does Dreyfus, because basically what happened is CGB, it dropped 600 contracts onto the market delivery wise, or it wasn't all theirs. They had 500 and some, and I think ADM had some. So there was like 677 contracts dropped on the market. Dreyfus soaked up 500 of them. Now, we'll see if they're a strong stopper or not. You know what I mean? Like if they were kind of fishing for it. And the delivery market I have to be careful because I don't want to sound like I'm trying to exude that I'm this expert in it, because there are a lot of mechanics in that thing that just kind of cross my eyes. But we'll see. We'll see how it works. I have my broker that I've worked with for 20 some years. You know what I mean? Like he's forgotten more about the delivery
Yeah.
market than I'll ever know. So like I just am, I just know about it by luck, basically. But we'll see. So overall, like I said, grains really have a more larger problem, like the Brady Bunch, you know what I mean? Poor Dan over here. Like everyone's talking about soybeans and no one's talking about me. And so, the biggest thing that I would say is if we do see a drop in tariffs, if we do see, open trade without quotas and some of these other things, you could see China. I mean, really, realistically speaking, China, it's been a couple of years since they bought a good share of U.S. wheat. They tend to like the U.S. wheat for blending. Would not be the least bit surprised to see them kind of come into this market here before much longer and try to grab some wheat. I'm going to start to watch, the wheat basis along the river. Simply because they buy wheat. If wheat rises, corn's going to, like there's just rising tide.
Rising tide, yeah.
But corn demand remains solid. Brazil's debating going to E35. Excuse me, that would be huge. Brazil's already seeing a good amount of their corn soaked up by ethanol demand. Like a lot of people have missed that and continue to. Like my eye twitches so hard when people talk about the global corn demand being flat. I'm just like, it's like, can I please explain to you how ethanol is working in that country right now? But, so yeah, overall, that's all we got. We'll see where we head. Beans look like they just do not want to try to trade too awful much lower at this point. Cash is saying, on the basis side of things that they don't necessarily have to. So we'll see where that goes. I wouldn't be surprised. Corn should hold support here. It'd be great to see it close back up near the higher end of the week's trade.
Right.
That'd be a positive sign. And the same for wheat. If we could get wheat to kind of get off the mat here and get back up towards that higher 530 mark, I'd be optimistic. Otherwise, if it can't hold 515, she's going to go kiss $5 again. And that's going to piss me off. But there's nothing.
Well, the last thing we want is for you to be pissed off.
Wheat does it to me every day. It does.
It feels like that's like the ongoing backstory since we've been doing these.
We call it Sybil in Twitter land for a reason. Wheat has its own world, its own personality.
Love it. Well, Angie, thank you so much for today and this week, and just for being your awesome self as always. Listeners, we really do appreciate you. We hope we've added some value and maybe put a smile on your face. And you know what? If you have got 2 calculators handy, go try my little tip. But whatever you're doing today, stay safe, keep it tight. I speak for Angie when I say this. We wish you a fantastic weekend and we'll see you all on Monday. Much love.
Have a good one, guys.